So our next speaker is Hui Lee from San Francisco Environment Department. Mr. Lee has 16 years of experience with household hazardous waste, including 4 years working at San Francisco's Household Hazardous Waste Collection Facility. He has a bachelor's in biological science from California State University, Sacramento, and has a master's in environmental management from the University of San Francisco. He is currently the residential toxic reduction coordinator for the City and County of San Francisco's Environmental Department. Let's please give Hui a welcome.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's enjoying this beautiful sunny morning in San Francisco, right? So for today, again, my name is Hui Lee. I am the Residential Toxics Reductions Program Coordinator for San Francisco Environment Department. So for today, I want to present on a household hazardous waste outreach campaign that we launched in the summer of 2022. And so for those who may not be aware of household hazardous waste, that's really any common household chemical that you find in your home that don't belong in the 3-bin system. And so our campaign we refer to as the People in Life Transition Campaign. It was part of a Cal Recycle grant that we received. And really the goal, like any household hazardous waste goal, is to raise awareness about some of the programs we have in place, whether that be our permanent household facility or door-to-door collection programs where Recology will go to your house and it'll pick up your household hazardous waste so you don't have any excuses to not get rid of this stuff properly, or a network of 80+ retail collection partners that collect some of your more common household hazardous waste items like your paint, your fluorescent lights, your household batteries, and our used oil collection sets, and a number of other programs that we have in place. Okay, I don't even know where the button's at. There you go. Okay. And so while some of our past campaigns had never really have a focus on who our target demographics are, we wanted to take a different approach this time around and really focus on 3 particular groups, mainly because most residents only store their waste until a certain transitional period in their life, whether that be welcoming a newborn baby to the house, where parents are more inclined to take a more proactive approach by minimizing some of the toxic stuff around their home, or they're switching over to safer cleaning alternatives. Or 2, the second audience is, someone suffering the loss of a loved one where they are required to clean out their homes. This happens more often than we think. And when someone passes away, someone has to clean out that home. And the third is, when someone's moving. I think we're all guilty of this. When we're moving, we find stuff that we don't need, especially paint that we think that we're going to use again when we don't. In the past 2 years, I've moved 3 times, and each time I found something that I thought I was going to use again. But no, that's not the case. Next slide. Or not, I could just stand here. All right. And so want to be transparent. We have a budget of $230,500. Kind of give you an idea of what a campaign like this costs from start to finish. And so the bulk of our budget was spent towards the creative development and the messaging and figuring out how we want to get this message across. And so I'll touch on this a little bit later. So this campaign timeline took roughly about 11 months. We spent the first 3 months really figuring out how this is going to look and feel and sound, not from our own perspective, but from the public's perspective, getting feedback. And then we officially launched towards the end of May, and the campaign lasted all the way till mid-October, and then we wrapped up in November. And so, of course, with any campaign, you start with a creative development. We tasked our consultant to deliver us 3 concepts that we can work with, that we kind of brainstorm ideas, took ideas from each concept, and then refined it and kind of made it our own. And so with this is kind of what some of our assets that we went with. This direction really kind of takes a simple approach. It informs the public that getting rid of your waste is a simple process by relating to specific situations in their life. And here you can see some of the visuals that depict a simple approach and really shows where most household hazardous waste is commonly found, like under your sink or in your junk drawer. And so some of the messaging we went with was like, baby proofing your home is hard work. Disposing of your household hazardous waste is under your sink is easy. And there's always a call to action where the person seeing the ad can click on it and directs them to our household hazardous waste landing page with kind of more in-depth information about all of our programs. And here are some other examples that we know. Other examples we have here, of course, the infamous junk drawer where you store your dead batteries, trying to figure out what do I do with this, or paint cans in your basement or your garage or your storage shed and your pesticides and all this stuff. And here you can see some of the other messaging. Decluttering your home can get confusing. Properly disposing of your household hazardous waste is simple. Of course, with outreach, we wanted to also take a different approach. Instead of doing your typical digital and print media buy, we want to take a more community-based social marketing approach where we want to engage with the public directly to have a more way to change behavior. And so with that, we attended 43 outreach events for that summer. So that's a huge number of events. These events vary from festivals to fairs to community events to food distribution events. Here's another picture from another event. And of course, you're never too young to learn about household hazardous waste, right? And so we had this coloring sheet that says H is for hazardous, and it has links to our different pages in multiple languages. We had these activations that we had these stencils made from our campaign that directs people to our table where we can engage with them. And yes, I work for the toxics reductions team, and we probably spent too much time looking for the safest alternatives to a spray paint. So yes, it's clean. We work with 40 different businesses to help get this message across. They're the ones that are working with the public directly. They distribute materials on our behalf. We come back and get feedback from them, see how well performed. And so probably one of our more important relationship was with our community-based organizations. We work with 10 of them. They're the boots on the ground who help get the message across. They're the ones who are engaging with the public, and particularly they engage with the community in hard to reach communities that are often marginalized and limited English speaking skills. And CBOs are also, they worked with us to finalize the creative to ensure that it made sense from the public's perspective. We distributed over 22,000 pieces of collateral. I know it's this NCRA event, you're probably thinking, wow, that's a lot of paper. It was to good use. All right. And of course, it's in multiple languages, Cantonese, Spanish, and yes, even Russian. We have a Russian community here. And for our media, I'm gonna try to go through this quickly, but we did both print and digital media buys to ensure that we reach kind of all different age groups, income levels, and background. And at a glance, we advertised in 11 different media channels, totaling over 27 million impressions. Impressions are the number of times your ad was viewed by someone. And based on the number of impressions, we had over 350,000 clicks. So that's, someone who saw the ad and said, you know what, this is something interesting. I want to learn more. So they clicked on it. So based on impressions and the clicks, you get a click-through rate of 1.55%. I'm not going to get into the details of this. I'm not an outreach person, but I was told this is somewhat the benchmark. And I guess it did pretty well. It did really well. Thank you. And so we had our digital media, we kind of ran the gamut on this one. We did, Google search ads, all your social media, your websites and apps that are related to some of the target audience. So if you're searching, like I'm looking for a house, our ads will probably show up. We also did a number of different Spanish speaking websites. We experimented with streaming radio. A lot of this was experiment, right? To see how well performed and then look at it again, and then run it again. If it performed well, if it performed poorly, we'll stop that ad. And I'll just come through some of these examples because I've only have a few seconds left here. These are Google search ads where, you know, when you're doing a Google search, and we had predetermined terms where if you type in like paint recycling San Francisco, our ads would probably show up. Here's some more ideas on some examples of what we use. Zillow, Trulia, and Hotpads, you know, those are pretty popular for moving, searching for like baby stuff. Our ads will probably show up. I'm gonna go through these quickly here. This is from our Muni buses. And Singtel is probably one of the more popular San Francisco newspaper websites. I won't go through it, but last thing I want to mention really is our toolkit. And so you saw that we spent $140,000 on this campaign. We don't want it to just go to waste. We're going to run it again, but if you're interested, we're making this available to anyone here in jurisdictions free of charge. You can manipulate it as you like, and then we can share all the creative assets you saw today. And with that, thank you.
Thank you, Hui. Does anybody have any questions for Hui?
Is it me first? Yeah. Okay. Did you do any sort of I'm over here to your right.
I'm gonna just act like I see you.
Thanks. Did you do any sort of pre-campaign research or polls to land on those 3 transitional scenarios that you chose? Or did you guys just feel like those are the times people need to clear HHW?
We did do some research. You know, I've been in industry for about 17 years. And so we have tons of data that we can refer to. And so that's kind of what we went with.
Up here. Oh, hello. The stencil art that you guys did at the events, what was the spray paint alternative that you used?
I can't give you the details of what the chemical compositions are, but if you're interested, I can try to find it and I'll send it to you. Of course.
We have a question from the virtual audience. Thank you for your question. How did he identify the events at which they shared info?
How did we identify the events where we shared info? Well, a lot of these events are available publicly. You can just do some simple searches. We had our consultant identify a lot of these events. I've mentioned our partnerships with our CBOs who know a lot of these events and attended on our behalf. And so I think that's where we found the majority of them.
I have a question over here. Hi, thank you for your presentation. I'm wondering if you have any statistics on the increase in materials that then came into your HHW facility after your outreach campaign.
Yeah, that was a good question, because one of the things that people often ask is, how well did it perform? Did you increase household hazardous waste collection? That's a tough one, because one of the things we look at is like the year prior. How did the year perform from the year before? And that's a bit tough. And we really dive deep into how well it performed. And we did a recent analysis of some of our, like the trends in household hazardous waste collection. And instead of a kind of a trend throughout the year, there's a trend throughout multiple years. And so usually what happens is like the previous year, there would be a huge increase in collection. The year after, there would be a huge dip. Unfortunately, this campaign ran during that dip. And so it was hard to kind of compare the data. I think when we come back and look at data a year from now, I think that'll give us a little bit better representation. But to answer your question, it kind of remained the same. And you also have to imagine that this campaign was more of an awareness campaign. And instead of changing behavior through a large audience, we have a specific demographics. So either you had a baby, you moved, or you had a death in the family. So that's a pretty narrow group, but we hope that, you know, this campaign a year from now, we should have more accurate numbers.
Thank you. Let's give Hui a round of applause.